Hello, Orange Cat here. We're playing Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, case by case series, whereby I play the whole game and try to show only one case from beginning to end with all the endings per uh, per video. So last time we finished the third main case, Amuse from Abroad, and now we're gonna continue with the last the almost the last one. It is Sacrificial Lamb. This part 6 in the series. So it's basically another playthrough, but which I use the recordings to use separate uh, yeah recordings. So we have now that we can explore. We finished the Muse from Abroad and received a package from Vogel, the artist. And let's go back to the Holmes Manor to see what Sherlock received as present. So let's fast travel to Stonewood Manor, because that's the handiest to do. So you focus on the main cases only first, and then we're gonna do the side cases. And you will not do any other stuff. For example, this guy, the first time you talk to him, which happened automatically, you have to say I'm busy when he says that you have received a letter from Mycroft, because then you will get the trophy. Not now. It is triggered automatically the moment you are restarting the Amuse from Abroad case. So this event will trigger automatically. Just choose I'm busy, and then later on you can talk to the guy again to accept the case. But we're not doing that because we're gonna focus on the main story first. So we received a package from Fern.
Just look at this thing. It's huge. It's a bizarre object, and yet oddly familiar. Did you just remember something? Yes. A room full of curiosities and artifacts. I think I can find it in the manor.
Sherlock. So, you continue to pursue the imaginary. I had hoped you might have got all this out of your system by now.
Mycroft, what are you doing here? Get out of my house.
It's my house, actually. I've come to bring you back.
I have no interest in returning, let alone with you. I know you lied about Mother all these years, claiming she was merely ill, but she was unstable. She never had tuberculosis. She was not recuperating, but mentally deteriorating, and you never once thought to tell me. How dare...
I shall not indulge this petulant tantrum. You can just tire yourself out and then slink back to London with your tail between your legs.
Just tell me everything. I'm an adult now. Show me the basic courtesy of an explanation. You know I will find out eventually.
The goal was stability, and that's what you got. The right thing for everyone was to try and move on from her passing.
The consequences of one's actions determines what is right or wrong.
Yes, exactly. The ends justify the means. After leaving Cordona, Sherlock, you had a normal childhood. In London, I was able to support you, guide you, shape you into a fine and productive young man. You have so much potential, so much to offer society.
But that's not the end. Now I found the truth, and it has shattered everything I knew about her, about you, and about myself. I feel unstable because of you. Your actions were not justified. Lying never is.
Oh, grow up, Sherlock. It was a white lie which has as much use in the realm of the interpersonal as the international. It is time you come to accept that some things are bigger than yourself.
Oh, you are full of it. You like to pretend you care about the big picture, but it's just an ego trip. You like knowing more than others. You like greasing palms and rubbing shoulders with the rich and powerful. You like having eyes and ears everywhere. The fact it helps the nation is incidental, because all you care about is yourself.
It's true. I have agents everywhere, including Cordona. If you weren't so damn stubborn, you'd realize that means I'm only here for you.
Yeah, so we can explore inside and also need to remember that Sherlock Holmes and Mycroft also are different in age as well.
I remember returning home with a pair of perfect sticks. We wanted to turn them into training swords.
Oh, that's right. We stood there, frozen, staring at something huge in the main hall. It was a giant aquarium with a living mermaid in it.
Impossible, it must have been something else. Oh, of course, that mortifying hoax presently taking up space in our front yard.
Well, fine. Your memory's better than mine. But I'm sure we started examining it immediately. And someone else was around too.
It was my mother. She asked what I thought of the artifact.
You were really concentrating and holding something in your hand.
I inspected it with a magnifying glass and was able to confirm it was made of two different skeletons. The mermaid was a fake.
And so it was time to smash the thing. Your mother took a hammer and...
Slow down, John. That's not how it happened. I remember other people joined us. The workers took the artifact and placed it into the Cabinet of Curiosities. It became part of Mother's collection of fakes. She always said that the truth lies in the details. This mermaid helped me to learn that.
So now we can enter the Cabinet of Curiosities.
Ah yes, my mother's studio. She was an authenticator and this was her Cabinet of Curiosities.
I never saw the point. What does it matter if some artifact is real or not? It still exists.
Mother said this was among the hunting trophies of a Scottish Viscount.
So he tried to persuade everyone that his forest was inhabited by these beasts. It would have been thrilling if it were actually true.
Another fake Holy Grail. Its owner claimed to be the heir of King Arthur. Scarcely believable. He also insisted a deadly rabbit was hunting him. Watkinson and Holman, Chapter 1, by Wallace D. Oram.
Oh, Mycroft. He always acts so serious, but then reads tripe like this.
John, if I remember correctly, you couldn't put this book down. One of the most ridiculous fakes I ever saw. Its owner insisted it was a polar bear. He thought the white paint on the brown fur wasn't noticeable.
At least he tried.
I remember this cozy blanket. It was perfect for...
Wigwam! Oh, that was a joy to build them. Imagining ourselves as wayfarers on the other side of the world. It's a pity how many amazing things are missing from this room.
Yeah, so some of the stuff you will buy back. But that case we do later.
The full plate armour of Sir Robert Saunford. I was told my father won it in a wager.
Armour is armour, but look at his sword. Oh, how badly I wanted to wield the blade. Maybe you take it instead of your pistol.
The Tulpa, Studies in Tibetan Mentalism. An impressive number of bookmarks. Someone was rather obsessed with this subject.
A torn diploma. Torn diploma found in the Cabinet of Curiosities. Someone deliberately ripped it in several pieces, reassembled and translated. The diploma reads: On behalf of the board of the University of Geneva, Switzerland, we rectors of the universities, noting that Mr. Otto Richter has undergone the tests required by the laws and regulations, confer him the degree of Doctor of Medicine, with the rights and prerogatives so attached.
Clearly, it was deliberately torn. I wonder why someone would do that.
Otto Richter. Personal notes. Mrs. Holmes is a patient of considerable interest and an ideal subject to explore some of my theories. I will attempt to repeatedly immerse her in the traumatic situation that precipitated her mental illness. It is my belief that reliving that moment might give her mind a chance to embrace what happened, accept it, and effectively cure itself. I'm confident in my hypothesis and merely need to prove it. In addition, it's fortuitous to be around the broader Holmes family. Perhaps I will be able to also examine the heredity of psychological traits, be they competencies or disorders. It is already apparent that all family members share an uncommonly high intelligence. It appears that the mother's condition has begun to affect the mind of the youngest boy, Sherlock. While I cannot conduct a proper medical examination due to the protectiveness of the elder son, it seems that the boy suffers ongoing hallucinations in the form of an imaginary friend, John. A letter from Otto's brother. My dear brother, I heard you recently arrived on Cordona. Have you come to see me? I do miss our evening conversations, even if we never agreed in our opinions. Cordona is home to a stunning new art gallery which I visit every Tuesday. Meet me there. Oh, and do not see Klaus. I left that name behind. More artifacts.
And this one was brought from a German museum. They claimed it belonged to Vikings. Nonsense, of course. The so-called mummy of a Persian princess. The defrauders did good work, but missed one small detail. It's the mummy of a man.
Look, it's Roger. This jolly old man's well preserved. Even looks refreshed.
I doubt he drew much interest at the auction.
That's for the best. I'd be upset if he fell into the wrong hands.
1852, Bingley, West Yorkshire. This photo caused a lot of fuss. My mother spent some time to prove it was a fake.
So it had fairies on them, which is also a reference.
So many calling cards. Mycroft liked to keep useful people at hand.
Letter from the judge. Dear Mr. Holmes, please accept my deepest gratitude for your recent help with that personal matter. I shudder to think what may have happened were it not for your keen eye and sharp mind. Rest assured, should our paths cross again, you will be greeted by a grateful friend. His Honor, Judge McDougall.
Reliable and driven. I recognize Mycroft's handwriting. Officer Luciano J. Placido. This drawer was always closed. Only Mycroft knew how to open it.
I remember we tried to break it open and spy on him, but alas, had no success. Maybe today's the day. Ah, Sherry.
Carefully opened. Dated 24th of April, 1869.
Court summons. Mr. Mycroft Holmes, the Cordona City Hall writes to inform you that the trial of Dr. Otto Richter in the death of Mrs. Violet Holmes has been assigned to His Honor Judge McDougall. Your application for a closed hearing has been granted. You are hereby informed that the prosecution has called you as a primary witness in the trial of Dr. Richter. You must present yourself at the criminal court of Cordona on the date listed over leave.
I'm starting to remember something.
Now we can examine the drawing.
Ah, the memory comes back. We snuck about watching him.
He closed the drawer and went to the hall. We were like two shadows crawling behind him.
We walk up the stairs, around the corner, in a small area with a fireplace.
Then he threw some logs into the fire and sat in his armchair to read.
It's as boring now as it was then. I'm sorry, Sherry, but I think that's it. I heard footsteps
Wait,
upstairs a
John,
second ago.
we never use the
Wait.
fireplace in the
Do we
mornings.
have an attic here?
What if... A bit of juniper in the fireplace created a soothing atmosphere. It's the little things, isn't it? I think this is what we're looking for.
I heard footsteps upstairs a second ago. Wait, do we have an attic here?
Even if they have an attic, it's not like you can
I remember how angry Mycroft was about these marks. He called it a frivolous, childish endeavour.
So let's unlock the drawing.
We made it. So what's there?
A bottle of
Gifted by Queen Victoria herself. Single malt whiskey, Mycroft's favourite.
present from the Queen. Half a bottle of fine single malt whiskey, Mycroft's favorite drink. We found it locked in a drawer of the desk in the curiosity cabinet among a pile of important documents. Remarkably, it seems that the whiskey was a gift of Her Majesty Queen Victoria herself. Archives.
Dossiers on the most influential people on Cordona. Mycroft always had a habit of building files on everyone he met. Otto Richter. This one is rather thick. Mycroft can be truly dogged in his research.
Mycroft's research. Otto Richter is 45 years old, born to a respected family in Bern, Switzerland. Unmarried, no hair. Medical practitioner, graduated from the University of Geneva, Switzerland. Graduation was postponed a year due to a minor scandal on one of his placements. Parents died of cholera in 1863. Only remaining families in half-brother class age 35, present whereabouts of class Richter unknown, last seen on Cordona. So now we found all those clues.
I used this ladder to look at the top shelf, right? On the day of Mother's breakdown upstairs.
Right you are, Sherry.
Okay, and
We heard a noise. I can't recall of exactly what, and we didn't have a great view from behind the statue. The books and papers from the table somehow ended up on the floor. Now it's coming to the surface. I feel it.
so it changes randomly. Sometimes he lays down, sometimes he's sitting upright.
Come on, Sherry. Let's go outside. Wait. Did you hear that? Come here, Sherry.
You call this progress? Charlatan, amateur. I'm not letting you anywhere near my mother again.
So there was a quarrel between them.
The curious conversation. It all happened shortly after the incident in Violence Room on April 9. Sherry decided to play with artifacts in the Cabinet of Curiosities, and of course I went with him. As a result, we became unintentional witnesses to an argument between Mycroft and Otto Richter. Sherlock's brother was angry. He was sure that Dr. Richter had done something dubious to their mother and that it had backfired. He called Otto a charlatan.
I heard a noise in the hall. Let's check it out.
Or everyone just enters the mansion in their own free time, apparently.
Sherry, look! We've got a parcel here. Hurry up and let's see what's inside.
So this will make the start of a sacrificial lamb, which will have 6 different endings containing 3 culprits, and it's either they get hanged or arrested. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot, but luckily they're gonna be all in a prison cell. Invitation from Vogel. Dear Mr. Holmes, I'm waiting for you at Kurt Manchios' mansion on the turquoise lane. Across from Cordona Abbey in Northern Grant. Sorry, come at once. If convenient, come anyway. Always your free friend VV. PS, I sent you the appropriate outfit for this place to avoid any unnecessary complications.
An invitation that comes with a mask. We can't miss this, Sherry.
So this is the 4. Anyway, this is the last main case because the really last main case will mean you will end the game. So after this case you can freely run around and focus on getting all the other in-game cases and DLC. You have to find the manor. So the manor is, this is the abbey. If I remember correctly, his house is here, this building, if I remember correctly. Let's see, to automatically trigger the thing. As you can see, this is the house with rather festive decoration, and also with all the people dressed similar to Sherlock. There's a mask. Here Kurt Manchios mention.
Welcome, sir. I do hope you enjoy yourself.
Enjoy the evening, sir. There is still plenty of time before the grand finale.
All right.
Of course. The piano player is also playing for it.
What if I write an article about these people here? Can you help me gather information about Cordona's elite? My goodness, Sherlock, they made a blood fountain.
No, John, it's definitely not blood, just wine. Go is it a guess?
Look, I'm an outlaw. You should sit next to me and wait to be served.
Manchios had to inform.
Funded Duchess fired after incidents, political crisis, cheating group, yellow press. People described the scandal from a previous party. Vice Governor Cowden was found by his wife to be a Prussian duchess in the company of young men. Although the marriage was intended to be a political one, the emotions of the duchess were real. The incident instigated a political crisis between Cordona and Prussia. Although there was only a few notes of the protest, the governor fired his protege.
That's what I like about this party. Bring me more dirt, Sherry. One more piece, and I can expose these base hedonists.
Do you know what was here before? Here.
Okay, so let's find mysterious disappearance, magic circle, assassin, occultist, architect. Yellow press. Win before Manchios family. The mansion was owned by an occultist architect. He dedicated his life to conducting a powerful ritual from the forgotten tomb, but the ordinary magic circles proved too weak for it. That was why he built this mansion. A keen eye might notice that its shape corresponds with certain magical symbols, and some walls have cavities. One day the architect simply disappeared, and a stain on the floor was all that remained. Perhaps he was successful in his endeavor.
I'll pin them down with this scoop. Thank you, Sherlock.
Okay. For
Sherlock, friend, I wasn't sure you'd come.
Verner, I see you are not yourself.
The more time you spend here in Cordona, the more I feel it my duty to bring you into our world and show you all we have to offer.
And what is on offer today?
Pleasure, indulgence, relief, and relaxation. You've earned some time for yourself, have you not?
Those who know me would say I'm incapable of it.
Nonsense. I refuse to believe there is anyone permitted to know Sherlock Holmes.
You may be right.
Then free yourself from inhibition and expectation. The night is young, and so are the guests. You should try to enjoy both. It's not healthy for handsome men to spend every night alone, and certainly not in a house filled with such melancholic memories.
I must admit, my travels have proven more taxing than expected. I'm less confident in my life and myself. A time of relaxation seems a distant dream.
So can I tempt you with a physical aid to your moral consolations? There's wine, of course, something to smoke, or perhaps an artificial paradise? Yes, something more spiritual, a potentiator to sharpen the mind. A 7% solution of, well, that'd be telling, but you must try it.
My mind already operates at a far higher level than most. I struggle to believe anything could improve it. My ultimate duty is to provide the world with truth, and I do that perfectly well as is.
Duty? You've never cared about that before.
Of course I do. Exposing a lie, revealing a fact, that is a moral responsibility.
That's not morality. Morals are what happens afterwards when truth collides with consequence. Do you ever follow up on cases you solved? Do you ever see what happened next, visit the victims, ensure justice is served in the courts? And how do you choose where to direct your attention? Are there not deserving causes to which your brilliance could be applied but isn't?
You ascribe me more power than I possess. I have a narrow skill set and work within that mandate. What occurs afterward is irrelevant.
With every action or inaction, you place a finger on the scales of morality. Many in the city would see you as abdicating a responsibility.
I haven't.
Not me, of course. Morality is subjective, just like truth. There is little to be gained from indulging in it, and far better things to indulge in. Now I must insist on easing any burdens I've placed upon your shoulders. Show yourself a kindness, and try this rather delectable concoction.
If this solution truly does assist with thinking, then perhaps it would be puerile to overlook an opportunity to study it. I'll take it with me.
Yes, Sherlock. Very good. And now, our evening begins in earnest. I just remembered. I'm sorry, Sherlock. My mind's delightfully impaired. Please take this key. It opens the altar room, past the library.
Pardon? Altar room? What now, Verner?
Go quickly and find our Fabio. Only you can make him talk. I'll join you in a minute.
Okay, let's go to the altar room.
These medieval botany and chemistry books look even more satanic than the occult ones. Codex Orchis. Why does this occult book sound like a flower? Romantic poetry and prose. Someone's in touch with their feelings. Well-known and recent plays to keep up to date with the current trends.
One of these books must open a secret passage. I know it. My God. Was he here this whole time?
That's absurd.
The herbs here are Salvia divinorum. They have a slight hallucinogenic effect to emphasize the ceremony. The herbs here are Salvia... This elaborate box must be for the ritual dagger. The ointment smells... mouse-like. I presume it is an aphrodisiac prepared from a Spanish fly. This oil has a slight aroma of flowers and olive. This one looks like a twisted symbol of Venus, drawn in a hurry. This crude tattoo partially covers a slave branding. A blunt force trauma may have suffered an internal hemorrhage. This golden handle has a bloodstain on it. The dagger is heavy and sharp, but lacks balance. The wound is deep. A precise strike reached the heart. This worm-like sigil has been drawn with his own blood. The victim has clenched the fabric so firmly in his fist that it's nigh impossible to remove it. He died right here.
Painful. Vogel was also joined.
Similar to the guest's robes, apart from the bloodstains. Verner, care to explain what is going on here?
On nights like these, it's not unusual for some attendees to get a little exuberant. It's part of the appeal. Unfortunately, it appears things have gotten out of hand. Yes, some are more prone to bend the rules of morality.
That's murder. I doubt there's anything left to bend. Why did you not tell me immediately? We were chatting about trivial matters for some time.
If I'm completely honest, Sherlock, I've consumed a rather potent cocktail of substances. My attention slips and drifts, but I'm glad I thought to call for you.
You sent me a disguise.
Oh dear, did I? Well, since I found the body, Mr. Manchios has agreed that you can investigate the matter. I promise my mind will behave itself going forward.
All right, then pull yourself together, Verner. What is it about these nights that you were so eager to share with me?
Well, they're not always in the evenings, but they are in the shadows. People gather to test their boundaries in a safe and consensual atmosphere, often with more stains than your typical crime scene. But that is the point. Who are we to judge?
I suppose that's fair. What about today, then? Was anything different?
Well, I was invited as a special guest. It was supposed to be a time of both divine and carnal pleasures. A scratch for every unconventional itch.
I imagine you're reeling from your shattered expectations.
On the contrary, There is still spectacle, stimulation, and release, merely in a different form. I like to let life entertain me.
Or death. Mr. Manchios is the owner of the manor, yes?
And the host of Cordona's most memorable parties. He promises even the ugliest guest a partner for the night. And for the ones with more unconventional tastes, Mr. Manchios provides other services.
What a caring person.
You cannot begin to imagine.
How did you discover the body? In between guzzles of alcohol?
I was set to perform in a fecundity rite with Fabio and came to inquire further. It was a staged ritual where he was to play the principle of life.
And the rehearsal was unsuccessful?
Who knows? I found him alone on the altar, his blood dripping to the floor.
And then?
Then I called Mr. Manchios. He was panicking, so I told him about you. We left the room and locked the door. Then we were...
Filling time?
Waiting for you was stressful. We indulged in some simple comforts. Overindulged, perhaps.
Were you well acquainted with Fabio, the victim?
Everyone knew Fabio, or wanted to. His beauty was the talk of the island. Too handsome to go unnoticed. He was magnetic. Fat wallets fought for the privilege of having him. He offered the pleasures of performance, and more.
What about the fertility ritual? There was something about Fabio being a principle of life.
Fabio was supposed to portray the beauty of life's origin. Flowers, oil, not this travesty that seems straight out of the Inquisition.
So this ritual is not the fertility rite. What was it meant to look like?
It begins with a woman lying naked in a flower bed on the altar. She represents Gaia, the earth. As I cover her in oils, we chant for the principle. As our calls reach a climax, Fabio enters and copulates with her. After he finishes, I stab her with a dagger. That part's just pretend, of course.
But the intercourse is not?
I did not expect you to be such a prude. Are you a virgin? It is nothing to be ashamed of, but it would explain the colour of your cheeks. The fertility rite marks the start of our festivities. The principle of life is beautiful, intimate, essential. It must not be stopped.
Yet it appears that someone did stop it. What about the naked woman? Can you tell me anything about her?
Oh, yes, Matista. She's one of Fabio's compatriots and a performer, too. I haven't seen her today, actually.
When you discovered the body, was the door open?
No, it was locked. Oh, that reminds me. It's a minor detail, but the first time I came to speak to Fabio, I left without entering, having been unable to open the door.
You didn't have the key?
No, I had it. Don't look at me like that. I was mostly sober. I suspect there was a key in the other side of the door, blocking the lock.
That detail may very well be major, Verner. Well done. So you returned later only to find the lock was not blocked?
Correct. After an hour had passed, I tried again and was able to unlock the door. That's when I discovered poor, handsome Fabio.
The police remain unaware of this tragic event?
Some of them may be hiding behind their masks. They conceal many things. But we didn't want the authorities to create more problems. Besides, after a few cocktails, their incompetence will have soared to new heights.
How do you know I even want the case?
I promised you relaxation. If there's one thing I know about you, Sherlock, it's that nothing soothes you more than a good mystery.
Okay, now we can explore some more.
Enough cigars to burn down the entire mansion. Why don't people tidy up after themselves? Blood. A sturdy bottle met a not-so-sturdy human. It didn't break only because it was unopened. An open wound spoiled the carpet. The wounded person was here for some time. A bloody handprint on an armchair. A person leaned against the doorframe. They left a smudged trail of blood. There appear to be no further traces leading to the altar.
What about a quick pillow fight?
The pitcher is empty, but with puddles around it. Blood clots are adhered to the sides of the drain. Props, decorations, and tools for a more detailed set. This is a different ritual.
Ritual scenario. I found a scenario of some sort of ritual with a remark written at the beginning. It says, "Read and rehearse this rite, Manchios." A naked woman lies on the altar on a bed of flowers symbolizing Mother Gaia. The one who leads the ritual offers the body of the woman to the awakener. In the fertility, participants should chant at this moment and call for the man who can please Mother Gaia. Then the man who will impersonate the principle of life may come to engage in sexual intercourse with her. Manchios, note. Don't ignore the guests, Matista, and stop boring them. They don't want to hear about your stupidities. They want you to feel how beautiful they are and how generous you can be towards them. You are here to please and celebrate life. Remember, each guest paid a great deal to be with you.
How can anyone accept such behaviour?
A useful tool for a disguise arsenal.
Would you recognise me in one of these? I suppose not.
Handcrafted and luxurious cufflinks. There's also a note. For my Fabio, Manchios. The key is similar to the one that Vogel gave me. The capital F on the key fob might refer to Fabio. Similar to the guests' robes, apart from the bloodstains.
Talk to.
Don't be jealous, Sherlock.
You've got a lot to do, Sherlock.
Pretty difficult this one.
You've got a lot to do, Sherlock.
Forget.
You've got a lot to do, Sherlock.
Okay, forgot something.
The ointment smells mouse-like. This oil has a slight aroma. The herbs here are Salvia divinorum. They have a slight hallucinogenic effect to emphasize the ceremony.
Do you forget something? Found everything. This one we forgot.
Identical to the robes the guests are wearing.
So, Sherry, do you have any ideas about the case?
Perhaps. I think I can deduce what happened here.
Okay, let's think. They got stabbed.
The bottle was used as a weapon during a scuffle in the smoking lounge. Then, to ensure no one would interrupt, the murderer locked the door. The unconscious body of the victim was moved to the altar room. Once the body was on the altar, the murderer thrust the dagger into the victim's heart. Symbols were drawn with the blood. The wardrobe was used to hide the bloodied robe from anyone's eyes. The killer washed himself and took a clean robe from the hanger before leaving.
Are you all right? You're on the floor, not moving.
I think I know what happened here. I'm starting to put the pieces together.
Fabio was stabbed.
I see nothing gets past you, Verner. Yes, he was stabbed, but only after being knocked out in the next room and placed here. I do not yet know why.
So, who's responsible?
Well, it was one person working alone, and the murderer has now donned a robe. He or she could be hiding in plain sight. We have lost time, Verner, but your discretion may prove to be a benediction after all. The murderer had to have access to this room. After the crime, he used his own key to lock the door. So, who had the key to the altar room?
I'm not sure. As a special guest, I was provided one by Mr. Manchios. He should be able to tell you of any others.
Where can I find him?
Most likely in the main hall, entertaining his guests. He has a mask with golden stars. You can't miss him. But please be discreet. We don't want to risk disturbing the revelry.
Let's look for Mr. Manchios. Between the people.
Kurt Manchios, I presume. I'm Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, you must be the one Verner told me about. What a sweet voice you have. It must belong to a handsome young man. Can I call you Sherlock?
As you wish, Mr. Manchios. Mr. Vogel asked me to help you. The body in the altar room requires answers, and quickly. I suspect the murderer to still be here.
What? Lower your voice. I don't want anyone to hear us.
Did you know Fabio well?
People are starting to look at us, Sherlock. Change the subject. I can't believe what happened to him. To me. Such an atrocity. Think what it means for me. A wonderful evening for so many good, influential, and rich people has been ruined. I have betrayed all my promises of exotic delights.
I don't understand. Surely a murder would affect your reputation to a greater extent.
Please, isn't this why you are here? I thought you were a silent magician. Do your tricks and make it go away.
I need to find all those who had the key to the altar room. As far as I know, Mr. Vogel, Fabio, and you had access to it. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Also, Matista and Santos.
Santos? Who is that?
Santos Pinchetti, my major domo, in his opinion at least.
I'd like to speak to Mr. Pinchetti and Matista. Do you have somewhere I might have a private conversation with them?
Of course, of course. Let me think. Matista is entertaining the guests somewhere, and Santos, oh yes, he will be busy with the servants. Or the cook. What's that noise? What's going on? Freeze, filth. You're under arrest.
There they go, all one by one. Arresting everyone. That's Matista. That one is just being carried away. A bit of like for one movie. Does it even make sense that he stands in the front? But I was just sitting, supervising. Interesting. That we are arrested.
Look at you. Committed a crime, and now I have to free you, kiss your hand, and apologize for the inconvenience.
I did tell you that Mr. Vogel and I were innocent. I emphasized it in my statement.
Your statement? Thanks to some bigwigs who work for the so-called good of the country by releasing fleas like you. Thank God we have Vogel in his letter. Once I get to that goldfish, I'll...
Bigwig? Oh, my wretched brother Mycroft and his long nose.
Wait, did you say Mycroft? Mycroft Holmes? Are you the youngest son of Violet Holmes, rest her soul?
You knew my mother?
Not personally, no. Not exactly. I was working on the paperwork for that case.
Would you happen to remember anything of the events?
Well, I didn't make the inquiry, but I remember seeing some notes. Why?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter which one, but yeah.
Perhaps we can negotiate. I could be quite useful.
Huh. Got you hooked, right? You know what? Stark and the others think they're the smartest here, thanks to you. Let me get this straight. Are you listening to me, lad?
I'm all ears.
Take this case. Report to me only, to Constable Harvey Oswald. I'll leave everything I have on this table. Find the murderer. Be a real copper. Question the suspects, make them sing, give me something substantial.
And if Mr. Vogel is not a suspect?
If he's innocent, then you can take your favourite degenerate away from here. If you slip or mess with the evidence, then trust me, your brother won't save you from my bludgeon. Meanwhile, I'll be checking the archive for you. If anybody asks, then you're a consulting detective.
Of course.
Let's make a start then. Partner.
Ta-da. Let's solve this.
I'm glad we managed to get the scoop before the raid.
Cannot change the globe. Report number 6260. Following the report from a witness of the satanic ritual claimed to have found the body, the raid on the Manchios was surrendered. It resulted in the arrest of multiple suspects and dispersal of groups in masks and robes caught in the act of gross indecency and unnatural behavior. The body of the victim was found laying on an altar with a knife on his chest. The officer identified the victim Fabio, 20, local performer artist. Arrested subjects V. Vogel had a letter of an assaulting nature in his possession which had been written by the victim. He claims to have found the body. He is famous for his eccentric personality. S. Holmes carried a murder weapon, a dagger with the victim's blood and other items of evidence. He was invited by another suspect, V. Vogel, presumably to abduct official Investigation. Kurt Manchios, the owner of the mansion and organizer of the satanic party, paid the victim to participate in the ritual and had access to the crime scene. Matista, Fabio's partner, a participant in the ritual, tried to escape, resisted arrest, owned a book with a description of the ritual performed in the altar room. Some of the guests are temporarily detained for further questioning. The keys.
Back on track to solve the case.
An evidence ticket so we can get the evidence from this case. Another letter. Witness deposition from Santos Pinchetti, a witness who reported suspicion of murder at Manchios' mansion in Grand Surrey. During preparations for the social party, I heard loud noises from the closed altar room. Immediately I thought of the sacrifice of the living being overviewed by none other than Kurt Manchios. There was blood on the wall and strange symbols and a dagger in the heart. As soon as I was able to think clearly, I rushed to the police station to report my findings. The station responded to the deposition by sending a patrol while the witness left the station and went home. So we have to investigate everything. Okay. So let's go to the Oswald guy.
Look, I found Verner.
Of course.
Verner, are you alright?
Oh, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother spent quite some time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the police everything I knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Ha! What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death for me.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
There are lines I will not cross, Verner. I will do my best to secure your release, but with proof, not deception.
Really? How many white lies have you told on this island? Why not for me? Why not another?
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti.
Do I know him?
The major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. All but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Okay, so impression vogel. Okay. So let's head upstairs. Let's see. Change. Change.
Did you hear Basilio Capello is in jail?
Let's talk to the guy.
I've nothing to say about this.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. Could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay here.
Okay, so he will
They
be...
brought him in, Mr. Holmes. Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.
Huh. It can either be because he has nothing to hide, or he has everything to hide. Okay, let's go to the...
Did you hear Basilio?
This is for a side case. I can't remember if it was DLC.
Good day. Your ticket, please, if you want me to help you.
Tickets. No. This one, evidence, tickets.
I'd like to check the evidence from this case.
And who are you?
Oswald sent me. I'm a consulting detective.
His partner, then? Let me see. Ah, a ritual murder. What a bunch of degenerates. Wait a second. I'll bring it to the table.
I can examine each of the suspects' belongings if you can.
An emergency kit for boredom.
A letter. Letter from Fabio. The letter was found in Vogel's evidence box. Is your mind unsound? You can control your bitterness not around me anyway. For me it's too great of a risk to ignore that kind of behavior. I can speak and play with anyone I choose. I'm not another Matista. You pay me, but you haven't bought me. Of course, I'll keep all your generous donations, even though they hardly compensate for your last terrible outburst. I'm leaving you, although Matista will still be around. Fabio.
Not the time for privacy. Verner's personal sketchbook.
Okay.
A heavily perfumed handkerchief with the initials KM in the corner.
Kurt Manchios.
It's a miracle this ruby hasn't tempted anyone.
And keys.
All the keys of the mansion on one golden ring. That's not for bedtime reading. This ex libris belongs to Manchios' library.
The power of love, loot, and mandrake. The police found this occult book in Matista's bag during the arrest. According to the ex libris, the top was taken from Mr. Manchios' collection. It contains illustration description of a ritual similar to the crime scene. Prepare the naked body of a recently deceased object of interest or symbols of mass and Venus to enhance the power you possess. To use the force of male and female nature, pierce his heart with a golden dagger to be rid of the blood that does not love you. Draw a symbol representing your love while waiting for the resurrection. Recite.
The book describes a ritual similar to the one performed in the altar room.
Keys.
Her key to the altar room. A handcrafted charm that contains hair and nail clippings. Thank you, officer.
Okay. So let's question every suspect.
Did you hear Basilio?
Yeah, that's the case. We will not be bothered with it right now. Where are the 7? Mr. Santos Pinchetti.
I recognize the key from the altar room among these.
And a letter. Kurt Manchios' will and note. A small note attached to the will says, Santos, my hope was luck. You begged me to include you in my will, so I did. Here's my latest suspicion of the will. Kurt. The text of the will under the note Santos Pinchetti, the major domo of the Manchios mansion, receives a jar of mustache wax and a salt lamp that he made always remember his caring employer, Kurt Manchios. That's not very nice. Okay,
Mr. Pinchetti, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald.
I've already told him everything I know. I'm only a witness, sir. Everything's in my report.
And I've read it. You forgot to mention that you hold the keys to the room where Fabio was found. I need only to find if the crime was intentional.
But I need to return to my duties.
I doubt the house will fall without you, Mr. Pinchetti. Just be still for a few seconds.
Now, we can observe him. The clothes. Neck area. The lapel jacket. Let's see. Shoes. A terrible mister. Or has financial difficulties. Character portrait, Santos Pinchetti.
You are the major domo of a rich mansion, and you seem barely able to afford decent clothing. You hide, under heavy makeup, a skin disease that might be treated with more onerous but less harmful means. Do you have money troubles?
I do not have a lot of means. The pay is below what you might expect.
But you could easily change your job if your employer does not meet your elementary needs.
One can change his employer, that is true.
And the blood on your shoe, where does that come from?
I don't actually know. Perhaps from a guest?
Did you know Fabio?
Not personally. He was a frequent guest, and cleaning the mess after his performances was tedious. Mr. Manchios always had a role for him, and mainly the leading one. The parties were always Fabio-centric.
And Matista? Was she as popular as her partner?
Don't tell her I said this, but I do not think so. Mr. Manchios hired her only because Fabio refused to work without her. Mr. Manchios used to see her as a worker. She was tasked with entertaining the guests, unlike Fabio, who could pick and choose. I can't help you. Don't expect me to know anything about it.
Mr. Manchios says that you begged him to be included in the heritage. Isn't that a little extreme, even for a major domo?
He's not only my employer, he's my uncle. And I'm his next of kin. The only one. Mr. Manchios flatly refuses to pay a family member. All I have to do is repay his so-called love, cleaning up the filth after perverts and decadents. He's imprisoned me. The best I can hope for is a new broom. That's why I wanted to have my part of the inheritance.
Is it that bad? You have a roof above your head, a salary, and the status of a major domo.
For God's sake. I'm forced to dye and stitch my threadbare clothes, and the holes in my shoes are painful. I'm ashamed every time a guest looks at me closely.
Why do you think your uncle treats you this way?
My mother, my uncle's sister, had me illegitimately. She died, and I was given the surname of one of the maids.
But you are entitled to some of the money that belongs to your family.
He thinks not. I was not responsible for my mother's death. I work hard, and he pays me nothing. I feed on the leftovers. While he wastes our estate's property on decadent parties, he paid Fabio handsomely and showered him with expensive gifts for their disgusting relationship.
accidentally repeat himself. That is from Manchios. Okay, so now we can
Please let me out.
get other suspects. Let's go. Cell 6. This is Matista.
I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald. You are Matista, Fabio's friend.
This body, yes, it's Matista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
Please accept my condolences for your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
Tattoo. Hands. Arm. Upper arm. Neck. And ankle. The shoes. Dissociated from the body, or punishes herself for the past. Character portrait Matista.
Fabio and yourself were slaves, am I correct? You have a similar branding on your body.
Yes. It was a long time ago.
Couldn't help but also notice fresh cuts upon your forearms.
The cuts helped me to forget my past, to cover the old wounds and hide them.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day. We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Cordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
The bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes. I've nothing to add. I've nothing to add.
Could Fabio have written this letter to Kurt Manchios?
Oh. That could be. I never thought Mr. Manchios could make Fabio that angry, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Fabio wanted to disassociate from Mr. Manchios. Clients who are in love are both a blessing and a curse.
But Fabio was here tonight.
Money. In our line of work, we can't afford to turn down clients who pay as well as Kurt Manchios.
Was Fabio afraid of Mr. Manchios?
Not at all. The old toad wouldn't dare to do more than sweet talk and touching. Talk can be forgotten, and touching washed away. I've nothing to add. I've nothing to say.
This book, The Power of Love, Blood and Mandrake, what do you hope to achieve?
To learn more about the invisible strengths that govern us. Occultism is real. The master who fell that night when Fabio and I escaped, I made him fall. I cast a spell on him and it worked.
Or was it a coincidence?
The universe is rarely so lazy.
If you say so. Do you practice occult rituals?
For protection? For fortune? To wash away the ugliness of the world? Sometimes to survive. I have the gift, and I'm learning to use it better.
Did you use your gift on Fabio?
I only used white magic. Love charms lately. Fabio became so distant. I just wanted him to be with me, but I suppose I'm not as skilled as I thought.
Okay.
Good day, Mr. Manchios. I am Constable Oswald's partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained boors. Although I don't mind meeting young officers, the new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the boars again.
That voice. Verner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the entire department through my consultations.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy, after all.
I need to examine you first.
The face, the ear, the hands, shoe, stickler for cleanliness, or hides his age. Character portrait, Kurt Manchios.
You are a little over the top with your use of makeup, Mr. Manchios. Is it so difficult for you to acknowledge your age?
Well, Sherlock, that's easy for you to say to an old man when you look as though you are barely 15.
But still, it shouldn't be an issue for someone of your status.
For people of my age, it isn't an issue, no. But the younger ones can be so afraid of wrinkles and grey flecks. I have to adapt.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient, or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little details. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. Otherwise, I'll be sobbing.
An expensive champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here with you alone.
Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
He's a pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party.
I'd like to know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true labourers, I see.
That's not something I know much about. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else.
Do you recognize this book? Could Matista have borrowed it from your library?
She didn't ask me. How ungrateful.
The things described in the book were inspiration for the rituals you performed?
Do you really believe that blood, symbols, and incantations can resurrect the dead? They are just eerie tales with a mix of occultism and voodoo. My rituals are a stage to show some of the forbidden pleasures.
There is undeniable evidence that you were the original recipient of this letter.
What are you talking about? Is it addressed to me?
Your protégé wanted a fresh start, it seems. This is sufficient to charge you.
Me? Hurt my star? Are you insane that you would accuse me of such a thing?
He did not consider himself as yours. Since you deny everything, let's move on. Do you have any idea as to how the letter could have ended up in Mr. Vogel's pocket?
You were the detective. Perhaps he took it from Fabio. Verner was a little high. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that. I've no idea about that.
I've read the letter about your will. A harsh method of ridiculing Santos. I doubt he will use mustache wax when he wears no mustache to begin with.
Where did you get it? Is the slug here? Tell him I shouldn't have to provide for him. He's a grown man who shouldn't sit on his uncle's neck. He conceives himself as my only heir.
And who is he to you?
He's a leech on my aging body. He has only added problems to my life since the death of his mother.
I fail to see why you made him your major domo.
He needed to know his place, so I taught him.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Manchios?
Of course. It was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police. I've no idea about that. You'd better ask someone else. I've no idea about that. 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 That's not something I know much about.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive show?
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protégé and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him. I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
I know I can handle the news. I know I can handle the news.
Please let me out. Please let me out.
I can't follow you here. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I can't follow you here. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I can't follow you here. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I can't follow you here. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I'm not supposed to know anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I can't follow you here. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I don't think I can tell you anything about this. I can't follow you here.
I have reason to believe that the intended recipient of the incriminating letter may have been Kurt Manchios.
Well, that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember how I came to possess it. Though I did spend quite some time with Mr. Manchios during the party.
Unfortunately, even with an answer, that may still not be enough to clear you with the police. But fear not, I will persevere.
I hope your attempt to put things straight will make up for...
You being on a bender?
Touché.
Please let me out.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my heart.
I know I can handle the news.
This is one of the endings. Then other one. Kurt Manchios. And the last one. Santos. Okay. So now it's save. Now we have to talk to the police guy, Oswald, who's in the archive.
You'd better ask me a question I know how to answer.
This letter proves nothing. Fabio wrote it to Mr. Manchios. It's time to free Mr. Vogel.
Do you really think I'm that naive? I need proof, not words from his friend.
Very well. Mr. Pinchetti told me that Mr. Manchios was lavishing Fabio with expensive and eccentric gifts. The letter mentions rich rewards and attempts to buy Fabio with them. It was written to Mr. Manchios. Who else was showering Fabio with luxuries to buy him? It doesn't fit Mr. Vogel's character.
Look here. We had a deal. Give me the murderer and then take your friend with you. I won't budge otherwise.
Well, fine, but you're just wasting time.
Okay. Now we talk to everyone. Let's go back to the jail. Start with Kurt Manchios, his endings. Which will be
The murder of
two.
Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. It was staged by a man who wished to distract the investigation.
That might be true. That poor girl Matista wouldn't dare to kill the only man who cared for her. So, Santos.
Mr. Pinchetti snatched at the chance to solve his problems.
Ungrateful little scum. Will he be executed?
But what for? He informed the police as to the crime, that was all. He couldn't stage the ritual, but he found the body, I believe.
I can't believe it. Why did Verner do it?
Mr. Vogel. He had no reason, and he won't be a scapegoat as you plan. You put Fabio's letter in his pocket when he was intoxicated, didn't you?
You can't be serious.
We can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes or their fingernails. You are a meticulous person, but this murder was fairly traumatic and filthy. After you stabbed Fabio, you were covered in blood. You panicked and neglected to rinse the soap from under your fingernails. The devil is in the details, Mr. Manchios.
Nonsense. I missed it simply because of the busy schedule of the party.
Of course, a staged murder was certainly not planned. You're at the twilight of your life. You have no partner, you have no children. You had feelings, however, for one man. That was Fabio. You loved him. That is, you wished to own him. with money and gifts. But he was also a free mind, was he not? He turned his back on you. Quite unjust. Love, so cruel and painful, and Fabio, with his words and deeds, made you feel the more wretched. So you killed him.
You must surely perceive that my sensitive nature wouldn't allow me to hurt anyone.
You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you, since you were the one who wrote the scenarios for the parties. It was your way of avoiding suspicion. A respectable man in his 60s,
Early 60s.
who hosts the cream of Cordona's society, cannot possibly be a murderer. But the guests who behave like animals in his mansion, of course, one of them could have killed Fabio.
I did oversee a few of the rituals, but I did not stage Fabio's death.
Okay, so choose is the other one, predetermined murder. So he will be arrested and sent to the...
The young performer played with your emotions. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way you would have liked. You wanted to be loved. Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You struck him, and then you staged the ritual. You planted the letter in Vogel's pocket and attempted to set up Matista.
What poppycock? Sherlock, stop this game now.
There is no stop word, Mr. Manchios. Relax and enjoy it. I'll pass the remainder of this case to Constable Oswald. He'll know what to do with you.
Okay. Okay, we can load. Oh wait, there's a save file. Need the manual save. Manual save. Wait, 20. Yeah. Okay, let's.
He's even been.
Did you hear?
Let's now go to the order.
The murder of Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. You're at the twilight of your life. You have no part. You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you. We can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes.
I can't choose a crime or passion. Basically, he didn't mean to kill the guy.
Fabio played with your feelings. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way that you would have liked. You wanted to be loved, but Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You were passionate, and so you struck him. Once you understood your mistake, it was too late. You were afraid, so you staged the ritual. With such a story, you might be sentenced to a few years. It might clean your conscience, and soon the case will be forgotten.
No. No.
This is my decision. I'll talk to Constable Oswald to see what I can do.
Okay. Let's load again. Then we go to Matista, the two endings.
He's even.
Did you hear Basi?
Matista is here.
Matista, you killed Fabio during the ritual.
What? No! I could never.
You knocked out Fabio with a bottle, you locked the door and placed him on the altar. You cast spells and pushed a blade between his ribs. The blood from his wound was used to draw symbols across his body and the room itself. You wanted to use your gift to resurrect him, but he failed to wake up. So you cleaned yourself up and left the room, realizing the full scale of what you'd done.
That's just wrong. I didn't do it. You didn't see what happened.
Then tell me, what did happen?
I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't either.
Fabio was a rising star. Cordona already knew of him, and you were not as popular. Your duo was coming to an end. He would have left you, and you were afraid of that. Since you believe in your gift, you thought you could revive him after death. And that time, he would have stayed with you.
That is not true. I was afraid of him leaving me, but I would never have hurt him.
You were there when Fabio was killed. He fought for his life and inflicted those bruises on your body, but you knocked him out eventually.
I was with the guests all the time. Manchios ordered me.
Okay, so let's choose. First, you are a monster.
Matista, you are a product of violence. You absorbed it in your childhood and have lived with it ever since. You know nothing of love, morality, or care. You are beyond any help. No judge would hesitate to hang you for what you did.
If that's so, then I'm ready to leave my body and be finally free. It's you who will have to live with your disgraceful judgment.
Okay, let's load. Let's see the order and the
He's even
Matista, where you accuse her and arrest her, but not send her to the gallows.
Matista, you killed Fabio during the ritual. Fabio was a rising star. Cordona already knew. You were there when Fabio was killed. He fought for his life. You knocked out Fabio with a bottle, you locked the door, and
you require medical help.
I can see that life hasn't been kind to you. Since childhood, you have been used and abused. The guests at the Manchios mansion are not that different. And even if you think you are in control, such a life takes a heavy toll regardless. The only good thing you had in your life was Fabio. You were so frightened of losing him that you killed him. I believe your only chance for a normal life is to receive medical help. Psychiatrists will help you.
Others have always decided what my life should be. And you're no different, Mr. Holmes.
That is your only option, Matista. I'm afraid you can't choose.
Let's look at the endings with Santos. So mainly choosing an ending where either of the suspects is getting arrested and thrown in jail, or arrested and being sent to the gallows. It only influences the newspaper and what John writes in his diary about Sherlock.
I know who killed Fabio.
So I'm free to go, sir?
Quite the opposite. I think it was you, Mr. Pinchetti.
That is not possible.
Allow me to explain. You staged this decadent ritual so you would not be suspected. After a short fight, you knocked Fabio unconscious. You locked the door and dragged the body to the altar. You wanted to set up someone acquainted with this masquerade.
I don't have the nerve to kill or stage a murder. I can't even leave my uncle's house.
You wanted to be rid of your dear uncle. I myself barely know him and already find him intolerable. You've worked for him for years. Santos, do this. Santos, do that. He doesn't pay you. He doesn't recognize your work. He doesn't see you as family. But you thought that heritage might be yours. Instead, all you'll ever receive is mustache wax. It is painful to witness such a situation. I cannot imagine how it must be for you. So you decided to frame your uncle. Put the blame for Fabio's murder on him. That way, the heritage is yours, and you are free of it.
Half of what you say is true. I'm in pain. I have had a hard time with my uncle, but I'm not a murderer. I can't even stand up to my uncle. How could I have killed Fabio? He did nothing to me.
He was a source of your troubles too, though. Especially since Mr. Manchios treated him like
a king.
The blood on your shoe tells me that you were with Fabio. You stabbed him with the dagger while he was still alive. You drew a sigil on him. There was a great deal of blood. You needed to remove it. Blood is almost like glue. It sticks to everything, dries quickly, and is quite visible. But you know how to handle stains. You are Kurt Manchios' major domo. However, despite your best efforts, you missed a spot.
It doesn't make sense, sir. I was never there. I am convinced there's a reasonable explanation.
Okay, let's first do the below.
Your hate for Mr. Manchios was so strong you killed an innocent person. Your uncle did that to you. I could have understood that you wanted to see him gone. No one could tolerate that much humiliation. But you killed Fabio. You staged the ritual, tried to frame your uncle. But you killed Fabio.
No, wait. I know it seems like I did it, but I didn't.
Oh, enough. Save your prayers for the after.
Okay.
Did you hear?
Let's hear the order.
I know who killed Fabio.
So I'm free to go, sir?
You wanted to be rid of your dear uncle. The blood on your shoe tells me that you were with Fabio. You staged this decadent ritual so you would not be...
I can try to help you.
Your uncle is a cruel man. He used everyone around him to his advantage. I don't believe he even truly loved Fabio. You knew very little love, support, or care from him. You lost your mind, Santos. And innocent people were hurt. I can't allow you to go free, but I can try to help you. I can provide my findings to the police. Decadence and perversity might poison anyone around.
I don't know what to say. I can't breathe. I need to go outside.
Unfortunately, you can't.
Okay, so those were all the endings. And to be honest, I'm not sure if there was a real scenario. Matista could have done the ritual. Maybe she found Fabio unconscious but thought he was dead, or saw an opportunity to do the ritual since he was dragged to the altar. Kurt Manchios might have hit him on the head in an argument, then maybe staged the ritual. Santos might have hit him and staged the ritual, or just hit him when someone else found him and staged the ritual, so it's a bit, yeah. And the ending after that, after talking to Constable Oswald, is the same.
Constable, Santos Pinchetti killed Fabio. The evidence is clear.
Is that so? A man like him has actually grown a pair.
He intended to set up his uncle for the inheritance. The old man had humiliated him for years in every possible way.
Oh, what a bunch of degenerates.
Well, as for Mr. Pinchetti, the evidence tells us that he was wronged and pushed to commit a crime to be rid of his uncle. I suggest that you help in easing his sentence.
That's a sad story, all right. But at least it's good enough for my promotion. As for my part, not everything was in place. Perhaps some documents were transferred somewhere else, but I couldn't find a trace of them. Then I remembered. The discarded document drawers where we put the lost papers or the badly labelled ones, including the crime scene report of Violet Holmes's case. Everything I've found is on the desk here. Take it.
Your persistence has saved me.
Yeah, well, we had a deal after all. Your friend is free then. You can leave.
Good luck, Constable.
That was the end of that one. We got... Wait, where's... Oh, there. Report 743. Officers arrived to find the deceased identified as Mrs. Violet Holmes lying in the garden of Stonewood Manor. Visual inspection showed the victim to be thoroughly soaked with a deep vertical incision 2 inches in length down her throat. Her face was swollen and covered in red blotches. Likely cause of death, hypoxia, awaiting confirmation from medical examiner. Main suspect, Otto Richter, was arrested on the scene. The body was sent for autopsy.
Garden. There's a garden behind our manor. How could I forget? That's where it all happened, where it all went wrong.
Sherry, it looks like you've almost...
Oh, you did it, Sherlock! The case is closed and all rewards belong to the winner. Bravo!
It is merely the triumph of the truth.
Is it? No compromises? No lies? You're happy with your decisions?
It was the best decision I could obtain. The truth must be told in the way it is most acceptable.
You're making progress, Sherlock. I was right to believe in you. By the way, did you get that precious information about your mother? Oh, not that you must.
Yes, I did.
Forgive my intrusion in such a personal matter. I simply worry I'm failing to be of much help to you.
Actually, you were. For some reason, all the archives on the case had disappeared. This was a rare opportunity to obtain the impossible.
Outrageous. Perhaps someone found the truth unpleasant. Society usually rejects those who speak with too much honesty, doesn't it?
A comfortable lie is often preferred to an uncomfortable truth. Still, I believe that the latter should prevail, and I cannot remain silent.
That's quixotism at its best. Your mere truth cannot defeat institutions, systems, and power. Etiquette, religion, marriage, they're all lies told to preserve connections, love, and sanity, and it's all corruptible.
Lies destroy human dignity. How could you make a free decision without any knowledge of the truth?
Are we really free to decide anything in this world, Sherlock?
Oh, yes. It's a struggle, but yes, we can make our own decisions. That's what I fight for.
What an endless fight it is. Will you ever give yourself a break, Sherlock? You're a walking contradiction, Sherlock. You refuse to lie to others, but constantly lie to yourself. How long until the train comes off the track? I cannot look away, but perhaps I should take a few steps back. You're an accident waiting to happen, dear. Until then, I shall bid you adieu.
Did you hear Basilio Copello is in jail? A dead body was...
Okay, let's go to the banner. We're not gonna enter the garden, but just I'm gonna show you. That one, side case. Here we have the back garden, and this is also the point of no return.
Sherry, please listen to me. Sherry.
John, I always listen to you.
You don't have to do this. You don't have to go through. I don't know what is beyond this door, but I can feel it. Buzzing, angry, like a fly at the window.
I know. I can sense it too.
You locked away this memory for a reason. There is only pain here.
Pain? And truth.
You do not need to suffer either. There is so much more we can do on Cordona, so many others we can help. There is no coming back from this.
I find myself awash in uncertainty. Perhaps now is not the time, with so much left to do.
Thank you, Sherlock. Thank you. Some doors can remain closed.
Cordona still calls for us, yes. And we will answer. But know this, John. One way or another, we will find ourselves back in front of this door, unable to avoid the truth any longer.
Okay. So, we reached the point where we unlocked the back gardens and also the ending of the game. So now I'm gonna focus on the in-game cases and lastly the DLC and the ending of the game. So thank you all for watching. Wish you all well and see you in the next video.